gonna be in the background down here?
No.
Okay, good. Man, I left my coffee down there.
Two legs down. Downtrend has a break in new low. Looks the same on the NQ. RTY looks a little bit different. Looks like there's already a break in new low here. This is a separate trend. Though it really just looks like two legs down as well. There's always a bunch of movement in the overnight on GC. Downtrend has a break in new low. Go into this range here. Looks like prices retested that high of the trend. Something like that, with that being the new high. And then we're just kind of testing that old resistance. So nothing much to really take there. And YM is pretty similar to the NQ and the ES per usual. Actually, there might be a wider downtrend. Looks like that could be valid. I'm going to redraw it though. Or it could already be broken. Let's see how prices play out. If they continue downwards, then I'll probably swap it so this is not a break. So as far as trades that I'm looking for, nothing on the ES because everything's played out to the downside. Need to wait to see if prices are either going to continue downwards or if we're going to get a reversal. NQ is the same thing. RTY, same thing. GC is just a range. probably even pull this back here and just say, okay, this is just a new range. But we'll see what happens here. I mean, I can leave this here. And then YM could end up being this wider trend here. We could have a wider downtrend, or it could just be this, which actually I think fits better right now with a close outside new low. So not really much to look for as far as this particular moment. I think that we could also get a wider downtrend on the ES potentially if prices continue downwards. But for now, this is what I'm looking at. I'm going to go ahead and draw the wider downtrend. Unsure if that's correct, but I at least want to keep an eye on it. Same with here. I don't know about it on the RTY though. not really much to do at the moment. Just gotta wait. Wait and see if this downtrend is correct, or if we're gonna get a strong reversal after 2 legs down. I haven't looked at the daily chart in a while. I'm gonna check it out. Let's make that 1,000 days. The value 1 day. Let's see. Haven't looked at it in a long time. That's about what I expected. I'm thinking that this larger downtrend is probably valid, because we're not seeing a very strong reversal, at least not at the moment. Let's get rid of that daily chart. Don't need that. I think I'm going to have to expand this out. It's looking like this downtrend is valid, most likely. It might not be this downtrend, but there's something working down, so I'm still going to continue to look for shorts on ES and NQ. RTY looks a little different. I can't really find that same downtrend here. I mean, I guess maybe there, but it looks more like two legs. And GC just kind of looks like a range. There's nothing super certain here. We might even get a spike in channel. Maybe. I'm going to treat that as an overshoot. So still looking for shorts on ES. I think we might have an overshoot on NQ, so need to be careful about looking for any shorts until we reestablish the downtrend or see if there's a different downtrend. Could even be a spike in channel or something like that. RTY still looks like it's played out, but prices are continuing lower. So I'll have to consider that there could be a wider trend. GC, we've broken out of this range type of area. We might be just be coming back within this one. It's possible. It's possible we can just ditch that one and just say we're coming back within this. So there could be a possible short to take here, maybe. Looking for the break and new low of this downtrend. So we'll have to see how that sets up. And YM, I'm uncertain about this larger downtrend. And I guess I'm uncertain about it on all of them, but it looks pretty good on ES. So trying to figure out where the channel line might be, if this is correct. And I lined up the midline here. So you can see there's 3 touches there. So we'll see. Maybe that will come into play. Maybe not. Let's go get rid of that. We have a first entry here. If I draw the short-term uptrend, then I think we're still within it. So not particularly close to an entry here, not yet. About a minute and a half away from the open. I'm expecting a slightly wider uptrend on NQ after the overshoot, so I'm willing to draw this a little bit wider, and I'm not going to look to take a second entry short. So the alternative is we could draw this here and say, okay, we're looking for a second entry short there. But because of the overshoot, we want to draw this wider. And we're not looking for that short. Maybe a lower high, but it's not really a good bet to take the first second entry after an overshoot, Could it work? Sure. It's just not worth it though. Alright, let's get rid of that. And it looks like this might have been roughly correct here, using the midline. Looks like we have a close outside and new low, so no chance to enter there. We're heading higher. It's looking like this a little bit wider, and it's exactly why I didn't want to take the short here. This trend line is in play. And we knew it was in play because of the possible overshoot. Or at least thought it might be in play. You don't know for sure, but whenever there's an overshoot, want to draw the channel line working back a little bit wider. Be generous with it. We have a new high here. Potential for a short on YM if you got a strong push below the EMA. Pretty strong leg working back on ES. Same with NQ. Let's go ahead and draw this. Potential for a lower high on YM. Let's look at the ATR. It's 23, so I take this with 5 contracts. Potential lower high. Gonna keep an eye on that. Let's see. Looks like prices are just gonna keep moving down, so no lower high, unfortunately. Looks like we're finding out if this trend is going to hold on NQ after the overshoot. Wouldn't be surprised if it just breaks. It's possible that this is just a short-term uptrend like this, and this already has a new high. That's what it's looking like to me. And I want to see if we can pull this in. Not enough. Looks like the trend's gonna hold. It's possible this is not an overshoot, so it could just be like this, but I think it was still right to play it as one. The trend is definitely looking confirmed, and this one's looking wider for sure. Definitely wider. It's looking pretty good on YM, downtrend that is. Let's bring this back a little bit wider. It's looking like prices are going to come back and test that high again. Or at least try. Alright, so we're retesting this high and seeing if the downtrend is going to hold. Potential shorts on basically YM, ES, and NQ. could consider taking this as like a double top, lower high, because it's a triple test really. Triple test off the trend line and a lower high. But signal bar is not really that good, so I don't really like taking trades above the EMA or shorts above the EMA anyways, and definitely not if it's kind of subpar. Okay, another potential lower high on YM. So that's what I'm looking for here. ATR is 25, so still looking at about 5 contracts there. Looking for a lower high on the ES as well. So if we get a lower high or a failed second entry on YM or the ES, I would like that. Not so keen on the NQ. I guess if you did get a second entry short, so we have a new low here. If we did get a first entry, second entry below the EMA, I might be interested. It's not looking like we're going to get any of that. Nope, nope, and nope. Downtrend is holding on GC, getting a lot of space back from the EMA. And if we continue lower, I'm just going to go ahead and start treating this as if it's not an overshoot. I guess the downtrend is going to be holding in that case. So at this point, we moved too far for a lower high. Even a failed second entry is probably not really what I'm looking for, but if we did get a second entry short, I might still like that on ES. Looks like we've already made 2 likes down on NQ. So actually, I really would not be surprised if the NQ breaks here in just a second. I'll bring this back. Keep treating it as an overshoot for the time being. And potential short on GC, looking for a break and new low of this downtrend. First entry short. See if prices are going to come back and create a second entry. It's looking like that's going to be a no, but we will see. What's ATR? It's 1.4. So 4 contracts probably. 4 or 5. Okay, it's a possibility. And the second entry short forms too far away from the EMA, so that plus being a doji signal bar, it's not something that I want. So we have a new low on that. Let's go and pull that in. See what's going on everywhere else. I wouldn't want to take a lower high here, but I would consider a second entry. Same with this. First entry, potential second entry setting up. Short-term uptrend here. Close outside. It's possible this downtrend is even wider. Price is still continuing down super strongly here. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to want to play this downtrend or not. Like if there is a good setup, I'm not sure, because this could be drawn tighter, where it already has a close outside and new low, or it could be a little bit wider. And both of those look pretty decent, but I'm going to play it conservatively for the time being. And if we do get a lower high, so I'm going to probably skip the second entry, and if we do get a lower high, I might consider that though. Need to be a little bit quicker switching around here. First entry, could get a potential second entry on the NQ. 23. Switch back to the ES. Okay, so there's the second entry. It's above the EMA. If we did get a lower high here or fail at second entry, I might consider it, depending on how it sets up. We have a break of the downtrend on the ES, and it looks like the NQ as well. So definitely looking for shorts on ES, definitely looking for shorts on NQ. And it looks like we're not gonna continue. Well, we might continue down here, but I'm at least not gonna play it like that. It's entirely possible this downtrend is incorrect and this was actually just 2 legs down, followed by some sideways action before prices reversed. So I'll just have to keep that in mind. Move too far for a lower high to take this on GC. If we did get a failed second entry, I might consider that. Moving sideways on YM, so I wouldn't be surprised if we break this downtrend, which I do think is correct. So we have the true break and new high for this uptrend now. Which looks something like this. Something like that. Uptrend, 2 legs back, break a new high. I would consider a failed second entry on YM. We have new high here, first entry. If we get a second entry below the EMA, that fails. I would also consider a failed second entry on the ES. Don't think I would really like a lower high because this move back was so wide. We're staying above the EMA, so I'm definitely not looking for a short. Not quite yet, at least. We have a close outside a new high on the RTY. I usually don't take range trades, and I don't really like taking them, but I think a lower high below the EMA here could be a pretty solid one because the bias is down. We're coming back within this range. This uptrend is played out. So if that sets up, I might consider that, even though I usually don't like range trades. Doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. Looks like two larger legs down. Everything's played out to the downside so far on GC. Where's the new low? There it is. I'm expecting a retest of the low on ES and NQ. Not so much on NQ though, because I do think that this overshoot is still in play. Could get a failed second entry on RTY, coming back within the range. Again, I usually don't play ranges, but this one looks really solid. Speaking of ranges, that's what it looks like we're in here, just working sideways. It's a wide enough trend that there can be ranges inside. Possible we get a spike in channel if prices do continue lower on GC. I mean, after this downtrend's played out, and then we get another downtrend that's played out, and prices are still continuing lower. It definitely doesn't look like this. That's way too much empty space. It's possible that we get something from here, because that was the break of the trend. That doesn't look quite right. I think it looks the best to be something like this. And I don't know if that's actually in play, but if prices do continue lower, then I'm going to start looking for a spike in channel, something like that. First entry, second entry, no good signal bar. Already a aggressive trade for me, so no thanks. We have the new high on this uptrend. So there's a second entry there, but I'm unsure of the wider trend. And at this point, all the downtrends, all the other downtrends have played out. So you do have a first entry, second entry, good signal bar, but lots of chopping above and below the EMA, with the EMA being in between those bars, and then the overall context being uncertain there. It's not something you want to take. I want to wait and see if this downtrend is confirmed before I look for any more shorts. It's possible that this downtrend is incorrect on the ES and the NQ. This could just be two larger legs down. So if we just bring this in here, this could just be two legs down, and then we're reversing, and it just took a little bit to reverse. I'm going to keep playing it like this for now, but if prices continue up a lot more, then I'm going to go ahead and start treating it as if the downtrend's already played out, which is how the NQ is currently looking. I keep grabbing the wrong thing. At the moment, this looks like two possible legs up. We'll see. This could end up being its own trend though. So you can definitely see that this could be. I'm not going to be willing to take a lower high on the ES. I'm going to need at least a failed second entry. Same with the NQ. The two legs back were too wide, too large. We have a close outside new low on RTY. So that's played out. This range is probably not even in play anymore. Let's go ahead and mark that. Let's see if this trend is holding on GC. It looks like it is, so the spike in channel could be correct. So I'm going to keep looking for shorts here, second entry or something of that nature. Really any short setup. Let's go ahead and get rid of this range. That's not very useful. Also, it's worth considering, okay, was this a trade here? I don't think so. Counting off the high, first entry, second entry, that's the failure. Counting off the low here, first entry, second entry, maybe, but I don't think so. You're entering very far from the EMA. It's congestion. Looking for a second entry on GC. And we're pushing right back above the EMA on the NQ, and I believe the ES as well. So I'm thinking chances of retesting this low are low, or getting lower. And I might change the way that I'm viewing that. Let's go ahead and switch that up. Switch it back to the original view, which was this downtrend with a close outside and new low. Because this is looking like just sideways action. Maybe not even sideways, but clearly there's just not acting as a downtrend. I think it's fine to keep this downtrend because there's the overshoot, so it makes sense why there's a strong reversal. I don't think you need it. It's not needed. You can just play it like this, with that being a break and new high, and that makes perfect sense. It doesn't really matter. How about YM? It still looks pretty solid here though. I'm wondering if I'm going to expand this range out. Usually by the time there's a breakout, it's just kind of dismantled. And that's kind of where I'm at now. But I might end up expanding it. I was hoping there's going to be a second entry short here. And I guess there might have been. Like maybe this bar was a second entry short. I'm not exactly sure how it's set up. Either way, I don't really like that. I would consider pretty much any short setup on YM. But just need to be careful with it because prices are looking super sideways. Potential second entry short. ATR is 30. It's 4 contracts for me. Doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. Looks like this might just be, I don't know. It kind of looks like that's a close outside. Hard to tell. This downtrend's looking really good on GC. And this just really looks sideways. More than anything. Bring this in. I'm going to get rid of this range. That doesn't really feel right. Bring this in tighter. It's a new high. I'm going to bring this back. I like the way this kind of plays out a little bit better. Which makes kind of more sense to me. I was thinking maybe on a lower high for YM. It doesn't look like that's what's going to set up there. You do have a first entry, second entry, no good signal bar. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lower high here either. There's a possibility of getting a lower high on YM, but just looking so sideways, I'm not sure. I might consider a failed second entry on NQ. And this is just clearly a very sideways area. No lower high, no chance to enter. At this point, I wouldn't want to take a lower high on YM. Price have moved too far. Just nothing really interesting right now. I'm going to go ahead and ditch this range. It's not really helpful. I just think we're within this larger downtrend, really. This price is moving sideways to get back to the trend line. Still not able to do it, though, so obviously they're pretty weak. I'm looking at the chat. Nowhere says, greetings, Drew. I was wondering if you can help me understand a few things. If signal bars are printing their way up, okay, so if we're printing our way up, then all of a sudden we have a signal bar with a tail above the previous bar, and tail below the previous bar, tail above the previous bar, and the tail below the previous bar. Does that count as an entry short? Do you mean if the signal bar are printing their way up and all of a sudden we have... I'm not sure what you mean, I'm sorry. If you want to give me like a specific time on the chart to look at, like maybe on the ES, if you want to give me a specific time to look at, then I think that would help me understand. I mean, I can try and like go through like what is a account. I guess maybe you mean like if it broke below a bar and then above, so like engulfs it, maybe. I'm gonna see if I can find an example of that. Maybe that's what you mean. Yeah, okay, so like you mean like maybe like this bar where like we have a new low, we go lower, and then we break above this one, an engulfing bar. Yeah, so yeah, that counts. So like if you have a low here and you go first entry and then you break higher, and then if we broke lower, then like, well, I don't know if that's a good example, but I mean that's a second entry right there, like first entry, break higher, second entry. There are some like special cases that are kind of tough to see unless we see one. There was one earlier that I remember seeing that I wasn't sure if it broke. I think it was on the GC. Where was it? There was one somewhere on the chart. I think it might have been back here. I'm not sure where it is. But I think the answer is yes, it counts as a short. If I see one, I'll try and point it out. I think this is probably steeper. I usually don't keep the chat on because it can be kind of distracting. But I've been trying it out, and it's funny since I've turned the chat back on. Like you're the first person who's chatted in like a few days since I turned it on. I guess maybe at least like whoever watches. I don't know. It's not very many people who watch, but they probably know that I just don't usually check the chat, so most people haven't been saying anything. But I've been keeping it up here, so as long as it doesn't get like too distracting. Lots of people from Panda's Discord that watch my stuff. That's awesome. I don't really watch, like I've seen his videos before, but I don't watch them very like regularly. And take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I mean, I'm not the best trader ever by a long shot. I've been following, I guess I don't really like talk about this often. I've been following Mack for close to 4 years. It'll be 4 years soon. And for the first few years, I mean, I was studying like a madman. Like it consumed my entire life. I was doing it, I mean, every single moment that I wasn't trading, and I traded basically every single weekday morning, then I was studying, and I was studying as much as possible, looking at old charts, going back through like all of the old videos I possibly could, keeping flashcards. I mean, anything you can think of. And it's one of those things that just takes time. Like I'm not, like I know it helped to do all those things, but to be honest, like I don't think it actually accelerated my learning that much. I'm sure it did a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's just sitting here and taking the trades. At least now, like I just kind of view myself more as like a data collector. Like I just take the trades that I think are good, and then I keep them all in Airtable. Actually, you know what? I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up here. I keep all the trades in Airtable though, and that's basically like my like trading like CRM kind of deal. And then I just keep track of like what patterns or what. So here's where I keep track of all my trades, and I've been doing this since like October, and I just keep track of like, you know, the like all of the I don't know, scalp P&L, the runner P&L, direction, pattern, context, positives, negatives, and I don't try and make a judgment on like whether the trade was actually good or bad. And then I can go in and I can like filter and say like where negatives has any of congested, and then I can see, okay, well, like how many like winners and losers did I have for like congestion, and was that like a positive sum? And it looks like in this case congestion is something that I don't necessarily need to like not avoid, because I still have a positive sum for taking congestive trades, at least since October. I mean, I wish that I had been tracking the trades the entire time. I think it would have helped a lot. And the reason I use Airtable is just because it's an easy interface, and just like I used Google Sheets for a while, then I stopped using Google Sheets because it was really hard to copy and paste in pictures, and it didn't work very well to copy and paste in the pictures. So that's like the main piece of why I prefer Airtable. Just the interface is better. He says, judging from what you told me just now and what I've seen from your channel, I would say you're a pretty good trader. The ability to just observe the chart without giving into FOMO is an actual skill. Yeah, that I would say that's my, like, if I'm skilled at anything, it's patience. That's like, it's the one thing that I would say that I'm best at. I mean, I'm okay at reading the chart, you know, I'm not the best ever. I think I'm okay. I try and stick to like the most simple trades, but yeah, I have no problem just sitting here and taking no trades. I mean, I've sat here for a week or more and not taken anything. It doesn't really bother me. You say I might have to use the round table, especially for data collection. Yeah, it's called Airtable. So I'll type it in, Airtable. I love it. I think it's great for data collection, and you can connect it to pretty much anything. So I use it for my business outside of trading. And that's how I got like introduced to it. And then I was like, wow, this would actually be really, really helpful for trading too. And you can have it do like, I don't know, connect to all kinds of stuff. Like I use like make.com and like Zapier and Innit, and I can connect it to like other apps to do some like data. Gosh, I don't know, to like view the data and stuff. Maybe it's probably too much. You don't need to do all that. I was hoping there was going to be a second entry short here. There's not. There could be an entry here. Or here too. Could be a second entry short. What's the ATR? It's 30. 150, 4 contracts. It could be a range here. It's pretty clear price action, just not really any entries. Not for me at least. So we have a new high on this short-term trend, working higher. We might just have a larger range here, something like that. What's the ATR here? So this would be a first entry, second, it'd be like 2 larger legs back. Signal bar is no good, but if we get a lower high, I would consider that. As is, I can't take that. I mean, it looks like 2 larger legs back, but it's really a first entry, second entry, third entry. Signal bar is no good too, so. We have a new high here. So it's been very, relatively simple price action, just not really any setups. This is technically a second entry short, because you can count off this low, first entry, second entry. That's a possibility. I would still really like a lower high though. Looks like it was the right call. Skip on that one. I'm getting a really strong correction here. Looks like this trend is a little bit wider. And it looks like this downtrend's about to break. Sometimes I question like why anybody watches this, because like I take so few trades. I think I average like 2 trades a week or something like that. So like 99% of the time that I'm live streaming, I'm taking no trades at all. And like I'm sure it's like it can't be entertaining. All right. Okay. I was thinking I was gonna remove that range. I don't know if it's needed. I think I'm gonna remove it. This could actually already have just played out. I might have expanded it a little bit too much. Let's expand this uptrend as well. Looks wider. Because you need my analysis. Yeah, be careful what you listen to. I was hoping we'd get a strong move down and we'd retest this downtrend. Prices are popping right back above the EMA. I think that the way people analyze the chart is like very personal. Like sometimes my trend lines will match with Max and sometimes they'll match with Thomas, but not all the time. But it still like makes sense to me. And I remember looking at Thomas's charts and then looking at Max and being like, well, like they're not the same, so who's right? But I think the answer is neither one of them are technically like right. I mean, it's just how they view the markets, and as long as it makes sense to them, that's all that matters. Okay, we might just be reversing. I'm definitely a little bit uncertain about this read here. All in all. Yeah, I think it's fine. It doesn't really matter if I view it like this or somewhere else or somehow else. It doesn't matter if I have this larger downtrend or not because it has an overshoot, so it doesn't always need a retest. And I think that I like the way that this looks the best. So anyways. And this one makes sense. There's nothing really interesting right now. Nothing that I'm looking to take. I don't really understand why prices are moving higher on GC. I think it could just be, in the end, 2 larger legs back. Okay, we might actually get some short opportunities. Or not. high there. It's looking really, really slow. There's just not much going on. Possibility to take a long on NQ. Have a new high, first entry, potential, second entry, no good signal bar. No good signal bar, lots of congestion. So already a no. Well, I think I'm gonna hop off a little bit early because prices aren't really doing anything. They're super slow. There's nothing I'm really interested in, and I've only got like 15 more minutes anyway. For the most part, everything's just kind of choppy and sideways. You're not even getting a push below the EMA to potentially look for a break a new low on GC. I guess YM is something that could still be interesting if we got a push below the EMA. I'll hold off for a few more minutes and see, now that this has a close outside a new high. If we do push below the EMA, then I'll maybe look for a trade on this, but for the most part, I think there's not really anything interesting. And never mind. I'm just going to call it. I'll see you on Monday.